It feels so good to be back.
So good.
Happy New Year and welcome to year 2026. Welcome to episode 129 of the Access of Combat podcast. I'm one half of your host, Hugo, aka The Boss, aka Got Next, aka Antonio Tarver's best friend, joined by my co-host.
It's your boy Ray Boogie Kahuna. And y'all know how we do in New York. Y'all know how we do on this particular podcast. From hardball to Boucher, we out here making moves. So on this episode 129, we're back. The UFC is back. A new era has begun. We're here to praise our Paramount overlords. A new era. We're kicking it off with Paddy Pimblett, Gaethje. And on the boxing end, we have Callum Walsh and Ocampo. We have Muratalla, Andy Cruz. But like always, before we get into any of that, my brother, please tell them what the deal is.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, and TikTok.
If you enjoyed the visual portion of this podcast, like always, you can catch us on YouTube, and coming soon, maybe sooner than you think, you can also catch us on Twitch and on Kick because the Access of Combat is going live. But like always, you could like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio, you already know.
First fight on the card at men's welterweight, we have the debuting Thai Thriller Miller going one-on-one with Adam Fugitt. Miller, perfect, 6-0. Fighting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, 25 years old. Fugitt, 10-5 overall. Fighting out of Oregon, 37 years old. We're kicking off the new year, maybe not in the most spectacular fashion here, but we are introducing some new blood. I'm gonna kick it off on the Thai Miller side. Dana White Contender Series winner, making his UFC debut here against Fugitt. I guess if you want the quick TLDR, the rundown on Miller, very good striker, not so great at the grappling, particularly at the grappling defense, but he's very big for the weight class. He's very long for the weight class. I think he's got underrated power, pretty decent accuracy, throws jabs down the middle, throws a solid 1-2, but he will mix in the occasional head kick. He will, clinch knees, throw some elbows. Going against Adam Fugitt here, a guy who, I tried to fade once with Kinoshita, made me eat my shit. Fugitt, a guy who, he's tough, not a punching bag, but he is hittable. He can go to the wrestling, but his wrestling is, mediocre at best. His entries, his takedowns are, they're not technically sufficient and doesn't really go to it often enough for me to feel confident that he can push Miller here. I just think the size, the speed, the fact that I think Fugitt is a bit chinny and, the age gap is just insane. I do think Thai Miller is going to win this fight, and I think it's going to be a bit of a thriller because I do think he's going to win it in some spectacular fashion. I'm going to say by KO.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think this is a bad matchup for Fugitt, just to kick off this Paramount card. And as we get further into the card, you guys will see the UFC might be trying to build some superstars in this card. I don't know if they're necessarily putting all their eggs in the basket for Thai Miller to become a star, but I do think this is a hard fade on Fugitt here. I think it's a tough matchup for him. I think Thai's very big for the weight class, hits very hard. Fugitt's chinny. Fugitt does not go to the wrestling as often as my brother mentioned.
And it's consistently.
Yeah, and I don't think he has the size or the proper technique to even hold Miller down in certain positions if needed to control position in the fight to win minutes. So I think this is going to be Thai all day. He's going to put him on his back foot. Very good chin on Thai, by the way. Can take a tremendous shot. So even if Fugitt lands on him, I'm not too certain Fugitt's going to be able to back him up or hurt him. So give me the younger, hungrier line here. 12 years younger. Statistically, that's also something to pay attention to. Give me Millie here to find the KO here. I think he gets it done ITD, preferably knockout.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Ricky Turcios going one-on-one with the babyface killer, Cameron Smotherman. Turcios, 12-5 overall. Fighting out of Houston, Texas, 32 years old.
Where them Texas boys at?
Where them Texas boys at? Well, we got some Texas boys on this card. Smotherman, the babyface killer, is 12-6 overall. Fighting out of Houston, Texas. Where them Texas boys at? 28 years old. Now, this fight, not really looking forward to it, if I'm being completely honest. It's two guys who I think are, unexceptionally mid. Turcios, I've never really been a fan of the guy. I'm not really impressed with the guy.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
I do think he does have a grappling advantage here, but the man's takedown rate is sitting like around 20%. Not that good. He doesn't have the power to really keep Smotherman off of him, in my opinion here. Now, on the Smotherman side, I do think Smotherman's weakness is wrestling, is grappling. If you put the kid on his back, the kid is lost. But what the kid got going for him is that he's an exceptionally hard puncher. He's a decent striker, and that is going to be ultimately the difference here. My confidence levels in this pick are not that high because I can see variance. There's a lot of variance in this one, but I am going to be picking Smotherman for the win. I think he wins this probably by decision. I hope the fight is entertaining, and that's all I really got for this one.
Yeah, I'm with you here. This fight's really interesting just because Ricky Turcios has like crackhead energy. He has crackhead cardio. He does not get tired. He's going to push a crazy pace. He might win some minutes in this fight too. I think this is very close to a dog or pass spot, but I can't get there from a play standpoint, to be frank. I agree with my brother here. I think Smotherman's takedown defense is good enough to get the fight to the feet and occasionally land the big, damaging and more memorable shots of the round. So I'm going to lean Smotherman here, man, but not with a high degree of confidence. I don't even blame people for that want to play Turcios. I can't get there.
Me neither.
Because I don't trust either one of these men.
I don't.
I'm not trying to, give these boys any of my bank, so just try to, mind my business, probably enjoy the fight. But I don't think it's going to be as boring as some people may think. I think it could be high pace, but I expect a lot of grappling. And not a lot of effective grappling leading to effective ground and pound or submissions, which is why I could see why it could be a little, But with that said, Smotherman, I'll say by decision because I have a hard time believing he's going to stop Turcios. Give me Smotherman by decision here.
Next fight on the card at men's heavyweight, we have the incredible Hawk, Josh Hokit, going one-on-one with Luke Fox, Denzel Freeman. Hokit, perfect, 7-0. Fighting out of Fresno, California, 28 years old. Freeman, 7-1 overall. Fighting out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, 34 years old. So we have an interesting matchup here with two guys who are primarily wrestlers for the most part. Hokit, more of the traditional go for the legs kind of wrestler. And we got Freeman, who's more Greco-Roman, upper body strength type wrestler. And, sometimes when you see these fights, there's a good chance that maybe there's no wrestling at all. And maybe it's just a stand-up affair. If this fight does stay standing, I do think Freeman is probably the better striker. More of a counter striker. He will, be a little more defensively, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsible. And, again, more of the counter striker type. Hokit on the other end is definitely going to be the guy who kind of, walks forward, maybe throws a little more volume. I think he's going to have the speed advantage, but I don't think he looks as comfortable as Freeman does on the feet. Now, if this fight does get to the grappling, I do think, okay, let me rewind that. I do think both guys are, athletic and, they're gifted in their own ways, but I do think Hokit is probably the better wrestler here. It's a little hard for me to have too much confidence in that because I wish I had a little more, data, a little more footage to kind of feel better about that. Freeman, I'm assuming he's going to have decent takedown defense, but what I do worry about Freeman is his cardio. He might slow down as the fight goes on. I'm assuming Hokit won't, but that might be a dumbass assumption on my part as well. I'm going to be picking Hokit here. This is maybe a little more vibes based. Hokit's got some motion. Freeman's last performance, while he did get the win, wasn't that impressive in my opinion. Could be UFC jitters.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
I'll take Hokit for the win here.
Yeah, I'm a little more confident on Hokit than you are. And it's just particularly because Freeman does not do well with pressure. Every fight that he's been in trouble in or lost, which is one, and I think he's lost a few on the amateur level, he's lost because of pressure. When you put this guy in his back foot, he just seems to not know what to do. So for me, I think this is probably Hokit's fight to lose. I don't know if I can play Hokit at anywhere close to minus 220.
Yeah, it feels a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's irresponsible of me to say, right? But I will say that I think Hokit is probably going to have the wrestling edge here. I think the promotion's in back of Hokit here, and I think Freeman struggles with pressure. Big time. I'm going to pick Hokit tentatively. I feel a little more confident than you about it, but we'll see if I even have enough balls to play it come fight time. Follow us on those social media platforms as usual. Hokit is the official lean for this podcast.
Next fight on the card at men's lightweight, we have the menace, Michael Johnson, going one-on-one with the great ape, Alexander Hernandez. Johnson, 24-19 overall, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida, 39 years old. Hernandez, 18-8 overall, fighting out of San Antonio, Texas, 33 years old.
Where them Texas boys at?
Where them Texas boys at? We have an interesting fight here, in my opinion. We got Michael Johnson on the one hand, who, pushing 40. We know what he is. He can beat the best. He can lose to the worst. The guy's a coin flip when it comes to, trying to predict how he's going to come out and fight. On the other side, we have Alexander Hernandez, who started off hot, lost to Cerrone. He's been up and down for most of his career, but the man is on a 4-fight win streak, the first win streak of his UFC career. And, for the most part, he's been, packing up these older fighters that they've been, lining them up against. I'm going to be leaning Hernandez here. And, I don't say that with much confidence because, I'm not too high on Hernandez, but I do respect the fact that I feel like he's finally, putting it together for the first time in his career. You can make the argument, of course, that he's beating up all these old guys and, putting them away. But, I feel like his style, since he's kind of like, reinvented himself, he's a little more safe with his striking and, he's a little more defensively aware. And I don't know, because, this one's a bit of a head scratcher because, fading Michael Johnson's always, a bit scary. I do think he possibly can get the finish here. I think either way, maybe this fight doesn't go.
I think that's safe to say.
I'll be looking at props, in terms of, trying to make a play here and there, but I'll pick Hernandez here for the win, second, third round.
I tell you what, I don't think the fight goes, but I think if the over-under set at like 1.5, I think the over is a sneaky look here. Because I think both of these boys are going to be very patient with like how they choose their weapons and their particular attacks. But I'm on the other side here. I think this is a dog or pass spot. And
I respect it.
I know Michael Johnson is close to a 500 fighter, which is sad because I think his athletic gifts speak more to his talent level than what his record reflects. Alexander Hernandez's last couple of fights outside of Chase Hooper have been against old dudes. Michael Johnson, a 3-fight win streak, and he beat Darius Flowers via decision, who has hands, by the way. Adam and Azaita, okay,
yeah,
he's
washed.
But he beat Daniel Zellhuber.
I've heard some people make the argument that Zellhuber might have come back too fast from his last win.
Yeah, I'm there, but I think the length and the dimensions, and I think Zellhuber's overall talent level, he still, I think right now has enough. Even at that point in time, would have had enough to stop Alexander Hernandez with a good shot. I think this is a dog or pass spot. I think Alexander Hernandez is still, a little chinny. If he can get through this, we have a lot more of an interesting conversation about him. I think Michael Johnson still got quick hands. I don't think Alexander Hernandez is going to be able to get his wrestling going the way he wants to because Michael Johnson, outside of the damage, Darren Elkins, who can wrestle his ass off, and Khabib have really been able to control this guy. And by the way, that was Darren Elkins a weight class down when Michael Johnson was super depleted. He's back at his rightful weight class at 55 here. I think he has exceptional takedown defense. He still has exceptional hand speed and power. I could see him clipping Alexander Hernandez in this fight and get him the fuck out of there. Give me Michael Johnson to find the knockout here. And as a dog shot, possibly, come fight night. Follow us on our social media platforms as usual.
Next fight on the card at men's flyweight, we have Alex Perez, a.k.a. The Decision. Is that a new nickname for him? I swear I've never seen that before.
I hate it.
I don't like it.
I hate it.
Going one-on-one with Energy. That's a decent nickname. Charles Johnson. Perez, 25-10 overall. Fighting out of Lemoore, California, 33 years old. Johnson, 18-7 overall. Fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri, 35 years old. This fight, it hurts me a little bit because I'm a fan of Alex Perez. We're a fan of Alex Perez. I pick up Alex Perez on this podcast whenever I get the chance. I just don't know if he's going to win. I do think he's going to come out hot, like he always does. I do think he's going to have probably a very successful first round, probably a solid second round. But Perez hasn't looked too good in the last couple fights. Definitely hasn't looked the same since the Tatsuro Taira injury. Does look a little bit, maybe half step behind. I do think he's the better fighter. I do think this fight is probably closer than people want to give it actual credit for. Charles Johnson, I do like his last couple of wins a little more. A guy who I think he's his own worst enemy, in my opinion. But if Johnson can lock in, even though he's a slow starter, and I do think he probably will lose the first round, I think he can get a finish here. He's he comes on late, pause. I do like Michael Johnson. I do like Charles Johnson here for the win. I'd say third round decision. It hurts because I like Perez. That's all I got for this one.
Yeah, this is a fight where I feel like Perez could probably be winning till he's not. He had a pretty good showing his last contest against Almabayev. Completely gave his neck up in the third round. I don't suspect Charles is going to be able to do the same thing in terms of the grappling, but I could see Charles getting downhill on him late in this fight. I think Alex Perez has had a career filled with injuries. I do like him. Once again, we big him up on this podcast. We like him a lot, but this is a fight that I'm like very scared to even give an opinion on because it could look a lot of different ways too. I think this is a super high variance fight. I'm going to lean Charles Johnson here. I don't like playing or even looking at Charles Johnson at minus money, but this is a situation where I feel like Charles Johnson is still riding high, smoking that Joshua Van pack since he knocked him out, and now he's the current champion. And I feel like Charles is going to come in with a lot of energy because he's an energy.
Bars.
And he's going to lock in and try to make a statement knowing that he could probably make a championship push, considering the guy that's the current champion, he was able to pack his ass up, later in the fight when they had it.
They would have been packing them
So
up.
Give me Charles Johnson to continue smoking that Josh Van pack. I'm going to pick him here via decision. Third round of decision, preferably.
Next fight on the card at men's light heavyweight, we have the minor, Nikita Krylov, going one-on-one with the Baltic gladiator Modestas Bukauskas. Krylov, 30-11 overall. Fighting out of Ukraine, repping the Ukraine, 33 years old. Bukauskas, 19-6 overall. Fighting out of England, but repping Lithuania, 31 years old. This fight I've been a bit split on. It smells a bit trappy, in my opinion, because I do think Krylov is probably the better fighter here. But man, coming off of back-to-back knockout losses, I mean, it was against Reyes and it was against Guskov, but I mean, the chin's not there. Before, I like to, how I like to praise these Ukrainians, +5 durability. That scares me a bit. On the other hand, we have Bukauskas here, who had a rough start in the UFC. I think he got cut, right? Ended up coming back.
Correct.
Looks better than ever. I want to get on his training program low key and, put a 4-fight win streak. He's got a couple of, okay wins, and has been, even finishing some guys. I feel like Bukauskas should win this fight. I feel like Bukauskas should finish this fight. This fight is also Bukauskas' first, real attempt into getting ranked. Yeah. I think they have Krylov ranked number 15. So this is a big fight for Bukauskas. I just don't have that much confidence in it, but I will be picking Bukauskas. Probably by KO.
I'm with you on the lean here, but I think the better and safer place here, depending on how the line is shaped, is probably on violence. I don't suspect this fight's going to go the distance. I suspect someone's going to get served in this fight. Bukauskas questionable chin. Krylov questionable chin. Bukauskas got knocked out by Petrino, who we all know is a fraud. Does not have the best striking technique. Krylov is a little cleaner than him, and I think a lot more experienced than that guy. And he has the wrestling edge. So Bukauskas' takedowns and defense and off his back is super questionable, even though he looks like he got a new strength and conditioning program. But we'll save that conversation for another day. But what I will say is that Bukauskas has either been finished or finished his opponents in 4 of his last fights. 4 of his 5 last fights, rather. I suspect this fight's going to look a lot the same. I think Bukauskas does find Krylov's chin here. I think Krylov does lean and punch over his feet a little bit. Bukauskas does have a kickboxing background. I'm going to lean Bukauskas, considering that Krylov doesn't go to his wrestling as much as I like him to. Give me Bukauskas via knockout, preferably. I'm going to say ITD, but knockout preferably. And violence, I think, is the way to look at this contest. Once again, follow us on all social media platforms as usual.
Next fight on the card at men's middleweight, we have Ateba Gautier, the silent assassin, going one-on-one with Andrey Pulyaev. Ateba is 9-1 overall. Fighting out of the Cameroon, repping Cameroon, 23 years old. Pulyaev is 10-3 overall. Fighting out of Russia, hailing from Russia, 28 years old. This is probably one of the fights I'm actually looking forward to because it's going to be striker versus striker. It's going to be all action for the most part, in my opinion. Why I'm excited is because this is actually a step up for Ateba, and it's a proper and it's a appropriate step up for Ateba because Pulyaev is an actual fighter. I'm not saying the other guys he fought weren't actual fighters, but Ateba packed them up. Now, I do think that if Pulyaev fought those same guys, he would also pack them up. I like violence in this fight, and I like Ateba. I think Ateba's the side here. I'm going to be picking Ateba. When it comes to making maybe an actual play on this fight, I think maybe the 1.5, because I think they are going to set it at 1.5. And if they do set it at 1.5, depending on how that overlooks, I might be looking at that. That being said, I think Ateba faces a bit of adversity here because, again, Pulyaev is a big guy who knows how to strike and knows how to use his range a little better than some of the opponents here. There's not going to be that much grappling, in my opinion, even though it's a clear path, I think, for both gentlemen. Give me Ateba here. I think he gets it done second half of the second round, maybe even the third round, but it's not going the distance.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Pulyaev, though, sitting at plus 600 is insane. And honestly, like this year, ladies and gentlemen, playing big dogs, because we are big dogs, might be the nature of the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, this guy's the more technical striker. He's big. He has decent takedown defense against the cage. I'm not saying he's an exceptional takedown defense guy like Michael Johnson. What I am saying is he knows how to use his size against the cage to prevent himself from getting taken down against a guy who's a relatively novice wrestler offensively and defensively. So if Ateba can't get off on him, he might be like confused on what to do next, because I think he's going to have a harder time taking him down than he probably thinks. He might have to just muscle him down, because if you look at Ateba, he is carved from granite stone. I just feel like skills pay the bills. He's going to be outgunned technically in this fight. I don't think a Pulyaev dog shot here is unwarranted, considering his size and his distance management, as well as his takedown defense against the cage. Against a guy who I don't know what he's going to look like if he goes with a wrestling heavy game plan outside of round one, or even during round one, or if he's swinging and huffing and puffing and missing as the fight continues.
Just getting extended in general. You're right.
Yeah, so for me, this is dog or pass, because skills pay the bills. And I'm not saying I'm there yet, but what I'm saying is don't be surprised if I get there come fight night. Follow us on all social media platforms as usual for that final play and look. But you already know what it is. I think Ateba is still a very raw talent and very raw prospect. But the UFC's clearly trying to push him. But it also might be in a step up that might be too much too soon. Give me Ateba for the lean. Give me a possible dog play come fight night on Pulyaev.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Umar Nurmagomedov going one-on-one with Deiveson Figueiredo. Umar, 19-1 overall. Fighting out of Russia, hailing from Russia, 30 years old. Deiveson is 25-5-1 overall. Fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 38 years old. We got a banger of a fight here, ladies and gentlemen. We have a banger of a card, if I'm being completely honest, but this particular fight, it does intrigue me a bit. Now, you know, if you take a glance at the odds,
insane.
They might be a bit wide. I mean, minus 2,000 on Umar. I mean, against any other opponent, I probably feel a little more comfortable with, but against Deiveson Figueiredo, feels just a little disrespectful.
Former world champion, man.
It just doesn't sit right with me, if I'm being completely honest. Now, I'm not saying that Umar isn't the rightful favorite, and I'm not saying there's not a chance that Umar maybe even dog walks him in this fight, but just from an odds perspective, just feels a little off. Now, I am going to be picking Umar here for the win. I just think he's big. I think he's got the wrestling advantage. I think he's going to be the stronger individual here. He's definitely the younger individual here. Nothing against Figgy. Figgy's great in his own ways. He does have power. He does have jiu-jitsu. I just think it might be a little too much. I'm not going to say it's going to be a complete steamroll. I do think this fight is probably going to play out. I would hope that it does play out a little closer than what the odds are indicating here.
I feel like it could.
From a play perspective, I do not hate anybody taking a shot on Deiveson. I do not. Will I get there personally? I'm still on the fence about it. Give me Umar here for the win. I think he gets this one done by decision. I don't think he finishes Figgy. I don't think Figgy finishes Umar, if you like the, Figueiredo side. But give me Umar here for the win. It's a 3-round fight. I think he gets past Figueiredo here. I just hope it's better than what the lines indicate.
Yeah, and I'm there too. You have Deiveson sitting at plus 950 on some books, and I think that is absurd. This guy is by far the better striker in this contest. The only thing that worries me, like my brother mentioned, is the size here. I'm going to lean Umar just to get cut and clear, and it's going to be by decision. I don't suspect he's going to finish Figgy, because Umar hasn't shown me that he has established competent ground and pound. When he gets you down, he's more of just a lay and pray guy right now. And the thing is too, if Figgy can figure out a way to launch offense off of his back, this fight can get very interesting by the judges. And he's a guy with probably one of the best guillotines in MMA. So if he could get the guillotine game going and use it to get up, as well as his jiu-jitsu to get up from certain positions, this fight could get very interesting. I suspect the first round is going to be very competitive. So all I got to do is hope for Figgy to probably try to steal one more round, keep him on the outside. And just like the Montel Jackson fight, Figgy just figures out ways to make fight at his pace. The Corey Sandhagen fight was, I think just a bad matchup for him.
Yeah.
Just because Corey's lame size, Corey does have competent ground and pound, and Corey is a decent striker. Umar is an okay striker. He's not better than Figgy here. And I suspect Figgy cracks harder than he does, even though he's a smaller guy here. So for me, it's like, okay, I need Figgy to get one round here just to try to, defensively wrestle, keep it on the feet. And we have seen in the past that these lower weight class fighters have surprisingly good wrestling, like Volkanovski against Islam, like Figgy against Cody Garbrandt. And yes, it was the ghost of Cody Garbrandt, but this is a guy in Cody Garbrandt who had pretty good takedown defense until the Figgy fight. So I understand why the line may be what it is. I just can't get there from a respectful standpoint, especially since I know Figgy has a path to victory here. And if he does wind up on his back, if he lands effective elbows and drops a few on Umar's face and cuts him open, the judging can get pretty interesting here. For me, I think this is quite possibly a place I just put a unit just for the heck of it on Figgy here, because I respect Figgy, and he has dealt with guys like Montel Jackson where he's been able to get the fight that he wants. Montel didn't push the wrestling like Umar, but remember, Umar didn't go to the wrestling immediately against Mario Batista in his last contest either. Kind of waited around, kind of fucked around and almost found out. Give me Umar here to get it done via decision, but give me Figgy come fight night as a possible dog shot. Follow us on social media platforms as usual. Follow us on all social media platforms for all these fights, because a lot of shit could happen come fight time. So you already know. Follow us.
Next fight on the card at men's featherweight, we have almighty Arnold Allen going one-on-one with Lord João Silva. Allen, 20-3 overall. Fighting at England, repping England, 32 years old. Silva, 16-3 overall. Fighting at Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 29 years old. This has got to be one of the more intriguing matchups on the card, and if I'm being completely honest, it's kind of one that I'm kind of still going a little back and forth on. I'm not sure which side I necessarily want to, pick and back. I'll start on the João Silva side, a guy who, the guy's his own man. He's a very peculiar man.
Lord Assassin.
The Lord Assassin himself. Very good striker, very heavy-handed, unique in, more ways than one. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but he probably should be the favorite if I'm being completely honest, but I don't think it should be as wide as it currently is.
Line is absurd.
Arnold Allen on the other side, I think he's probably the better technical boxer here. He is definitely going to present multiple issues for João Silva, at least on the stand-up. I do see this fight primarily taking place on the feet for the most part. I am going to be picking Silva here. I think Silva's worst enemy is himself. That Diego Lopez fight, very competitive. When he got out of his own head, maybe got a little uber aggressive, that's where he kind of fucked up, and then he found out.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that against a guy like Diego Lopez. I'm not saying that doesn't happen here with Arnold Allen either. The problem that I have with Arnold Allen is I think it's just his decision making. Tough fight to call. I'm still going back and forth on it, but I'm going to be picking João Silva here for the win.
Yeah, I think João Silva should be the rightful favorite, but I think this line is absurd, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is a guy who just got flatlined this last fight, a guy who showed a lot of his aggression issues his last fight. He's done it every fight, but kind of got exploited heavily last fight, obviously, because he got finished. And by the way, not to mention, taken down 3 times and controlled. So for me, this is simple. I think fighting nerds have a problem with their wrestling. I think we can probably agree to that. I think these guys are not as good as they showcase off of their backs.
I agree.
I'm just going to get that. I don't even think the jiu-jitsu is that high level. I'd say even Kyle Brahayo, but if you want the real, I know he trained with Damian Maia for years, but Damian Maia is not a guy who's absurdly good off his back. He's a guy that likes to get top position and impose his will. I suspect Kyle Brahayo is kind of of that same cloth, considering that was one of his predominant training partners and his mentor coming up. But I haven't seen it at this level with Kyle either, getting to his submission spots when he's on his back. There's a guy in Arnold Allen who had his recent fight with Giga Chikadze, went to decision, won the decision pretty unanimously, right? But before that, had a very good back and forth wrestling exchange fight with Evelev, who is an absurdly good wrestler. I think there is a chance, particularly just because of the line, because if the line was close, I'm picking John Silva because I trust his punches to land more effectively and to land damage and probably hurt Arnold Allen.
Yeah, if I had to describe Arnold Allen in general, I think he's a bit of a point fighter, if I'm being completely honest.
Agreed. But this is a guy who is probably the most technical striker in the division. You could make a strong argument outside of Volkanovski and Max Holloway, who recently departed. But he's going to have the dimensions edge here. He has a reach, a 1-inch reach advantage. He has a 1-inch height advantage. He knows how to use his limbs to keep distance. He may not be the bigger guy in there physically because John Silva is a guy who was very big at one point and now is coming to fight at 145. The other question I have is John Silva even going to make weight properly for this fight? And the other question I have is John Silva in the right headspace after getting his shit clapped the way he did the last fight?
Well, you can make the argument that, John Silva's really never in the right headspace. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's a situation where when you get to this elite level, there's certain things you can't fuck up on. And this is a guy in Arnold Allen who I think has a big boulder on his shoulders, a big rock on his shoulders that he's trying to get off. And I think he knows that if he can get 2 rounds here and just control this guy, and I think, and don't be surprised if he wrestles into him, if he overextends, because John Silva might not respect his wrestling enough to respect himself punching over his feet to hit this guy. But if Arnold Allen can get a body lock and take this guy down, I'm not so certain John Silva has the grappling to get back up to his feet. I think Arnold Allen has been making significant improvements to his game. I think his takedown defense is exceptional. So even if he can win the points battle here, there is a world where he could avoid some of the grappling exchanges. Like I said, that's all what ifs. I'm just giving you guys the possibilities and variances amongst the MMA multiverse. Shout out to Dr. Strange. as to what could happen, particularly when the guy is sitting at plus 300. I don't think this is as cut and clear as plus 300. I'm not sure John Silva is going to walk out of this fight unscathed. I'm also not sure John Silva is going to be able to land the big shot to win this fight against a guy who is pretty technically sound. I would say it's Arnold Allen, Volkanovski, and Lerone Murphy in this division who are very hard to hit clean. Lerone Murphy, if I'm correct, is a training partner of Arnold Allen. And they both train under Leon Edwards, who, by the way, I don't even want to voice him because he got his shit clipped. But it's against a guy in Prates who's a very good striker. John Silva, also a very good striker, fighting nerds. I get that. I get the correlation here, and I am making correlations in different arguments. And sorry for the long-winded rant, but it is good that I provide you guys with the proper information before making proper or improper decisions. So I'm just saying, plus 300, it's a little crazy. Against a guy, and once again, this is John Silva, who still isn't proven at the elite level. Who is he being at the elite level? Bryce Mitchell? That guy's moving down to 35, and he's one-dimensional. Arnold Allen, I think, can do many things. I'm going to lean John Silva, not with a high degree of confidence. Don't be surprised if I get to Arnold Allen for a dog play come fight night.
Next fight on the card, and women's flyweight, we have Natália Silva going one-on-one with Thug Rose Namajunas. Silva, 19-5-1 overall. Fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 28 years old. Namajunas, 14-7 overall. Fighting out of Colorado, 33 years old. Not Rose's original opponent. She was, I think, lined up to fight Grasso, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
Grasso falls out. Natália, of course, steps in. The hungry contender. I think it's a more interesting fight, in my opinion. If this fight would have stood the way it was, I probably would have leaned Namajunas against Grasso. But
you were a lot more confident about that than me.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm a lot more confident about Natália Silva winning this particular fight.
Much more confident.
Now, before I get into the Silva side, I'll give, Rose her roses. Bars. She's one of the most accomplished fighters in strawweight, right? I mean, got knockouts over Weili Zhang, got knockouts over,
Joanna
Jędrzejczyk. I almost tongue twisted that name to hell.
She's out here fighting Jamal Hill these days, so We quickly forget.
Joanna's moved on to bigger and better things, I think.
The streets remember.
Rose, again, one of the more accomplished fighters in strawweight, moved up, and she's been looking decent in this weight class. Not great, but decent. Well enough to really contend. Now, Silva, on the other hand, in my opinion, she's going to be the faster fighter here. In my opinion, she's going to have the better footwork. She has solid takedown defense. She has been on a tear. It's hard to, deny the woman's motion. I'm not going to lie to you. The vibes are right. The time is right. I think this is going to be a Silva win here. Rose usually has those same advantages in a lot of her fights. This is one of the few fights that I can remember off the top of my head where she's not going to be the faster woman. She's not going to be the more technical woman here. Rose's probably most clear path, in my opinion, is probably the wrestling here, but I don't know how much success she's going to have against Silva here because Silva knows how to, work the cage, move around, and, she has very solid takedown, defenses, particularly against the cage. Give me Silva here for the win. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be a good fight. I just don't see a very clear and viable, I don't want to say viable, but I don't see a clear path of victory for her. Natália, I think it's just her time, and I think she's catching Rose in the right moment and in the right opportunity. Silva here for the win. I'd say by decision. I wouldn't necessarily rule out like a sub. Gut feeling, though. That's gut feeling call. But give me Silva by decision.
Yeah, this is a tough fight for Rose. I've been very vocal in terms of Rose being very undersized in this division. Natália Silva, like Fatima Klein, is the next new gen of MMA. This girl knows how to work off her back feet. She doesn't get tired. Good footwork, dynamic kicker, dynamic striker, good timing, good takedown defense, strong hips, strong legs. Even though she's giving up the dimensions to Rose in this fight, I think she might still be the physically bigger girl in there. And I think Rose is going to have a lot of trouble getting off on this girl the way she might think she could. I think she's going to do a better job than Grasso because Grasso doesn't know how to get out of her own way. But what I will say is that Natália Silva didn't need to take this fight. Natália Silva probably could have just sat down and waited for Valentina Shevchenko to get healthy to get a title shot. She is hungry. She wants to get paid. She wants this name on her resume. I think Natália Silva is going to try and make a point this fight and she might goof her here a little bit. I would not be surprised. I won't go that far because I'm going to give Rose a little bit more respect than Grasso because I think Rose, 2 weight classes, beating more credible names. Grasso beat Valentina, and I thought she beat her the second fight, too, pretty cleanly. I don't know how, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But I just think Rose is undersized in this division, and I think Rose is going to have a really hard time with this girl. Natália knew what she was doing picking this fight on short notice. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think...
This is a fight that was eventually going to happen either way, I feel like. I feel like these roads were going to cross.
Yeah, you don't see Natália Silva picking up the phone to fight Manon. She's not going to do that with Manon. Manon's she's the beast, and she's a different beast for a reason. I think this is a very tough fight for Rose. Give me Natália Silva by decision here.
Next fight on the card at men's heavyweight, we have Salsa Boy Waldo Cortes-Acosta going one-on-one with the Black Beast himself, Derrick Lewis. Acosta, 16-2 overall. Fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, but repping the Dominican Republic, 34 years old.
Dominicano.
Lewis, on the other hand, is 29-12 overall. The knockout king himself is where them Texas boys at from Houston, Texas.
Texas boys.
40 years old. I love me some big old heavyweight action. Pause. This one's going to be no exception. We got the knockout king here going one-on-one with, one of the most ballsiest guys I've seen in a while in Acosta, who is literally taking any kind of fight he can. The guy is, I think, vastly underrated. I think people are starting to realize that a little more now.
He's surging too right now.
Surging. The vibes are right on the guy.
Active.
Hella active. I think this is going to be Acosta's fight to lose. I just think he's the better MMA fighter. It's always scary picking against Derrick Lewis because the last thing to go is power. And this man is the fucking knockout king in the UFC. Not just in the heavyweight division, in the UFC.
Exceptionally fast hands too, by the way.
But, Derrick Lewis has always got that, get up jitsu too. I don't think this fight is getting to the ground, but if it does, that'd be pretty interesting. But for a stand-up affair, Acosta, underrated chin, fast hands. He's going to give him the heater. But I do think this fight probably goes the distance, unironically. Give me Acosta here for the win. I think, again, his fight to lose. Always scary picking against Derrick Lewis, but, you know, where them Texas boys at, maybe he got one more in him. I hope not, because I don't want this pick to be wrong. I like Acosta. I'm a fan of the salsa boy.
Yeah, to my brother's credit, he's been calling how underrated Acosta's been for a while, and I've been on the train for the last 2 or 3 fights. He's been calling it since before that, so all credit to Bookie Kahuna, the all-great Bookie Kahuna at that.
Nostradamus, baby.
The Boogie Damas.
The Boogie Damas. Hey, man. Third eye.
But I think this is a fight set up for Acosta to win, and here's why. I seen Acosta standing there with Sergey and take shots. And Sergey hits exceptionally hard. Yeah, he kind of wobbled and went against the cage, but you got to hope Derrick Lewis can land cleanly on that and then have a sustained attack after that. I'm not sure he can do either. He might hit Acosta, but I think it's going to take more than one to put Acosta down. And I just feel like this is a fight where Acosta, if he gets the jab going and he gets downhill on Derrick Lewis, there's a guy who doesn't overextend on his punches, super durable. I feel like this is Acosta's fight to lose. I think Dominicano's going to get it done. Dominicano, you know, like at that record, you know, that new record that's out right now.
Blaring out the Honda Civic, you feel me?
Yeah, you already know what time it is. I think my boy is going to get downhill here. I think he might have to weather some shit in the first round. I think if you're going to bet Derrick Lewis, it's first round or bust.
Just KO or bust in general.
I don't think he's going to be able to sustain an attack. Or he did it against Volkov, but Volkov gave him that fight. Salsa Boy, I think even if it gets past the first round, I feel like Derrick Lewis might be in some shit because this guy doesn't get tired either. So give me Salsa Boy to get it done. Might weather some adversity. Good live play spot here, by the way. You know, follow us on all social media platforms. You know, we might just throw it out there to do it, you know, depending on how the Black Beast is looking. But with that said, I expect them Texas boys, Derrick Lewis, you know, to look like them other Texas boys, the Houston Texans, without Nico Collins this weekend. I expect them to get served by the New England Patriots. I expect Salsa Boy to serve Derrick Lewis.
Give him the heater.
Give me Salsa Boy to win this fight. I'll say by stoppage. It could go to decision, but I think he finds a stoppage here. He's been on a roll. He's been stopping a lot of dudes, and I think he's coming into his own, particularly since he's been super active. So give me the knockout here for Waldo Cortes.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Sugar Sean O'Malley going one-on-one with the Kung Fu Kid, Song Yadong. O'Malley is 18-3 overall. Fighting out of Arizona, 31 years old. Song, 22-8-1 overall. Fighting out of Sacramento, California, but repping China, 28 years old. Now, this fight is the new co-main event of the evening because, you know, Kayla Harrison had to unfortunately fall out with some injuries against Amanda Nunes.
Herniated this. Serious shit, ladies and gentlemen.
Serious shit. This fight, on paper, was always going to be an interesting fight. And another fight that I'm still kind of going a little back and forth on, but I am going to be leaning Sugar Sean O'Malley because I just think this fight is going to primarily take place on the feet. For the most part, it's going to be a 3-round fight. It's not for a belt or anything. This is Sean O'Malley's first 3-round fight in a while. I do have doubts on the O'Malley side. One, because, you know, the man still, you know, has some wrestling deficiencies, and I am worried about the wrestling on the Song Yadong side. And two, at least in recent interviews and podcasts, like the man, O'Malley's, he's not talking too much confident. You know, like the confidence is not there.
He has no aura. Some might say.
You can say he's a bit auraless. But I do think he's an exceptional striker. I do think he can lock in when he needs to lock in. I think he can thoroughly outstrike Song Yadong because he just has a good, you know, range of, you know, strikes and very solid distance management where I think he could keep Yadong off of him for the most part. Yadong is the better fighter, in my opinion, at least the more well-rounded fighter. Yadong also has a grappling edge here. Yadong has been surging. His last couple fights have been very impressive. This could be a coming out party for Yadong. And I'm assuming he's the dog. I don't necessarily hate a dog shot on Yadong. Yadong trains out of alpha male. You know he's going to have a game plan. It's going to be a good competitive fight. I wish it was a 5-rounder low key because I think I think that would favor Yadong maybe a little more.
Agreed.
Give me Sugar Sean O'Malley here for the win. I know it's the popular pick. I don't, again, necessarily hate the dog shot on Yadong. I'm still kind of wrestling with this one, but that's all I got. What about you, brother?
Yeah, I believe in UFC matchmaking and what they're trying to do for Paramount Plus in this era, and I think they're just trying to put Sean O'Malley in a favorable matchup where he's not going to get wrestled or spam wrestled for multiple periods of time. Yadong has the capability of doing that. He has very good cardio and size and girth to facilitate that, but I don't suspect he's going to do that until it's too late, which is why I think a 5-round contest, to your point, favors him. Sean should be able to manage the distance here, land the cleaner shots. I suspect he's going to win this fight by decision, but I'm with you here. I haven't been hearing him talk very well as of late. He's not as cocky as he used to be. He kind of got his ass humbled twice by Merab in a very dramatic fashion the second time. And to be honest, he sounds like someone that just came off a recent DMT trip, because he sounds just peaceful with what his career has been so far and what has been up to this point. So maybe the UFC just, I think there's a win-win for the UFC, because if Yadong wins, he gets a win over a big star and he's, huge in the Chinese market, or they get their guy back and they get their manufactured champion back in Sean O'Malley, and they kind of get the ball rolling again, considering that Merab is going to need some time to recover after that beating from Peter Yan. And Peter Yan is a guy that O'Malley won a very close decision over, which, by the way, I thought Yan won that fight. Just, want to throw that out there. So I think they're trying to get O'Malley back on the ball here. But to your point, I'm with you. It scares me a little bit just because of how he's talking. I don't think he's the same guy. I think being an undefeated fighter sometimes can creep into a lot of fighters' heads when they are in that position. But sometimes when they lose that their aura's got to go. So give me O'Malley here by decision, because I'm going to respect and trust Yadong's durability here. But don't be surprised if the Kung Fu Kid,
this is Bruce Lee shit,
figures it out and gets his grappling going and also lands his own damage in certain spots because of his athletic gifts as well as his decent boxing. So give me O'Malley here via decision, but not with a high degree of confidence.
Next fight on the card, and is currently constituted the main event of the evening. In lightweight for the interim lightweight championship, we have the highlight, Justin Gaethje, going one-on-one with Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Gaethje, 26-5 overall. Fighting out of Colorado, 37 years old. Pimblett, 23-3 overall. Fighting at England, repping England, 31 years old. Interesting main event for a couple reasons. One, the winner of this, I guess it depends on how fast or, what's going on in Toporia's life. Is he able to come maybe fight the winner of this fight? Arman Tsarukyan, another guy who's kind of in the background, maybe the more deserving title contender, but we don't know. We don't know how. I guess it depends on how this particular fight plays out.
Agreed.
Whoever wins, if they win in spectacular fashion, maybe they get rocket shipped up. Maybe they end up fighting Tsarukyan. Maybe they end up fighting
Topuria second, third quarter of this year.
Who knows? For this particular fight, I know Gaethje is the highlight. He's the fan favorite. Paddy, another fan favorite, another guy who brings a large audience from England. Like him or hate him, I don't necessarily like him, but I got to respect him a bit. I think he's got a decent shot to win this fight, and I think he does win this fight. My only concern is if Justin Gaethje does get his leg kicks off early, I think it could change the dynamic of this fight, but I do think Paddy will get his grappling, will get the cage pushing going, and will eventually land a takedown. I don't think the takedowns come easy, but I do think he does get them. And Paddy, very good at control, very good at ground and pound. I do see him winning here by submission, though. Give me Paddy the Baddy to win here. Some people might even argue that Paddy doesn't even deserve this shot because, if you checked out our previous episode, I didn't note the fact that, he kind of moved up the rankings.
Without doing shit.
Without doing anything. Just mysteriously just ended up as a contender.
He got a haircut and moved up in the rankings.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy, man.
So I get the argument there. I just think this is, interesting matchmaking from the UFC here. If Gaethje pulls this one out, I wouldn't be surprised either. The guy is going to bring the fight. Is going to make Paddy uncomfortable, try to walk him down. He hits hard, but it just comes down to Gaethje being a supposed D1, but I never see the D1. Pause. And, Gaethje has a propensity to get rocked and touched in all of his fights. And Paddy hits hard, not the best striker, but a hard hitter. Give me the, I guess, younger guy here and Paddy to get the win here. And I say by sub.
Yeah, I'm with you here. And I think this is, once again, the UFC matchmaking their guys to manufacture more stars and champions. And I think they're doing the same thing with Paddy that they're doing with O'Malley in the previous contest. This is an interesting fight for as long as it doesn't touch the floor. I'm going to keep it very simple. Justin Gaethje, yes, he can wrestle. And ladies and gentlemen, please note the difference between wrestling and grappling. He cannot grapple for shit. Khabib ran through him like a hot knife through butter, like a black belt going through a white belt. I don't suspect it to be any different in this fight. I think Paddy is an elite grappler. That's his bread and butter. That's where he wants this fight. The only place this fight's going to be interesting is if Justin Gaethje can get his leg kicks off and put some damage on the front leg of Paddy. But to be frank, if Paddy can hurt him at any point in this fight and just jump on his back or jump for a guillotine, he's capable, and he is very good. He is also very large for the weight class. I feel bad for Gaethje. Low-key, no one's talking about it. This might be his retirement fight, because I think if he gets served here bad enough, it's a situation where, you know, he might just hang it up, because I don't know if he's going to have another opportunity to chase championship gold at an undisputed level. Regardless, I think Topuria knocks both of these boys out. Just, you know, spoiler alert. But I do think that Paddy can make this fight look a lot like the Michael Chandler fight. Not in a thorough way, not in a thorough beatdown, but in spurts. And I do think he's going to create opportunities for himself to get his back and or get Gaethje to the floor here. So give me Paddy Pimblett here. I'm going to say by submission. These lines were a lot closer than I thought they were going to be. Minus 245 to plus 185 for Gaethje. If the ICD's plus money, I think it's there. I don't suspect this fight going to decision. Paddy, one thing I will credit to him as well, decent chin. Hasn't been cracked by someone like Justin yet. Michael kind of touched him, but not really. I suspect Paddy will pressure Justin the way Khabib did. But if Justin can get off, his bones are very dense. I think he has the densest bones in the weight class by far. Ladies and gentlemen, if he can get off on him, I want to see how Paddy wears his shots. Like I said, I do think this is UFC matchmaking here, and I do think they know the grappling deficiencies of Justin Gaethje here, and I suspect Paddy to get what he wants at some point in this 5-round contest. Give me Paddy Pimblett here via ITD, preferably via submission.
And that does it for UFC 324. Moving right along into the sweet science, and, you know, staying in the same family, staying in the same TKO/Paramount family, we're going to rewind time and go one day forward, or I guess one day backwards. I'm not too sure how to frame that one. Friday night, the night before UFC 324, Zuffa Boxing is making its debut, called Zuffa Boxing 1. And the main event of this particular card, we have Callum Walsh, King Walsh, going one-on-one with Carlos Ocampo. Walsh, perfect. 15-0, fighting out of Hollywood, California, but repping Ireland, 24 years old. Ocampo, 38-3 overall, fighting out of Baja California, Mexico, repping Mexico, 30 years old.
This is a fight I feel that, once again, Paramount and the promotional machine that it is, I think they're setting up Callum Walsh to get a big knockout here. His last fight against Fernando Vargas Jr. was not the sexiest, kind of boring, but credit to Fernando Vargas Jr. I think he is a much better boxer than most people give him credit for. He just got slightly outboxed by a better boxer and didn't throw as much volume as he usually does in his contest. I think in a rematch, he probably makes a lot of adjustments. This is a guy, Carlos Ocampo, who has 3 losses. He's lost to Tim Tszyu and Earl Spence Jr. Earl Spence Jr. via body shot round 1. Tim Tszyu via knockout round 1. Headshot. He can be finished both ways. His third fight against Fundora was Fundora when he was still an inside fighter before he got knocked out by Brian Mendoza. I suspect the Fundora now would pack him up bad because he would manage the distance and he would land his shots. When Ocampo is getting the inside fights that he wants, he can make fights very interesting. The thing is, Callum Walsh can fight from the outside and prefers to fight from the outside, counterpunch, as well as get his offense off from the distance. If Walsh gets his offense off from the distance, I suspect it might be a short night for Ocampo for a couple of reasons. His durability is not great, particularly early in fights against bigger punchers. He's also very technically flawed. He's very square when he throws punches. He's very square when he counters shots. And when I say square, he's like David Benavidez square, but doesn't roll with punches and kind of throws wide like a gorilla trying to, attack something that's in front of it, for whatever reason, like if it's going after its bananas or some shit, so he's not impressive. This is a fight that I think should showcase Callum Walsh's skills, showcase his distance management, and showcase his punching power. Ocampo, if he does hang in there, can make this a dogfight, but I suspect, once again, Paramount Machine, this is a fight that's built to make Walsh look good, considering the technical flaws that I've seen on the tape from Ocampo. And I had to watch multiple fights of him just to make sure it wasn't an anomaly. He does this every fight, even the fights that he's winning. I don't suspect he's going to be able to do it to Walsh. Give me Callum Walsh by knockout here.
Moving right along from Zuffa and the Apex Center, because that's where that fight is taking place, by the way, right into Matchroom Boxing, and probably the better card between the two boxing cards, in my opinion, obviously because, this one's a little more fleshed out. We have a trio of fights we're going to be breaking down, and we'll be kicking it off with Israel Madrimov going one-on-one with Luis David Salazar. Madrimov, 10-2-1 overall. Fighting out of California, but repping Uzbekistan, 30 years old. Salazar, 20-1 overall. Fighting out of the Dominican Republic, repping the Dominican Republic, 32 years old.
Yeah, this is, I believe, a get-right fight for Israel Madrimov. This is a guy in Luis David Salazar who, two things. Not a big puncher, 20 wins, only 7 knockouts. So 3 things. Let me put it out there. Let me correct myself. 3 things. So big puncher, only 7 knockouts. Has fought virtually nobody of significance. And this is going to be his first 10-round fight. All his fights prior to this were 8 rounds. So now you got to go championship rounds with a guy who's very hard to hit, very experienced. I mean, his last 2 fights were against Virgil Ortiz and fucking Terrence Crawford. And he showed what he can do in those fights. He's all dog. Both of these boys have extensive amateur backgrounds. Salazar is the Olympian because he has an Olympic medal, but I don't think he has the punching power or volume to give Madrimov trouble. I think Madrimov has the better footwork. I think he throws more volume. I think he cuts better angles. I think he's much more experienced. I think the line makes a lot of sense here. Well, listen, minus 4,500 for anyone doesn't make a lot of sense, because anything could happen in boxing. One punch can change or sway the fight. But I understand why he got smashed the way he did and why it opened up the way it did, because I just think this is a lot too soon for David Salazar. I'm sorry. I think Madrimov could get his way in this fight. I want to say decision because Madrimov is not a prolific finisher, but this is a fight where if Madrimov can get downhill on him, if that knockout looks very nice and juicy, it's something I will be looking to take a stab at, because he is so much more technically sound than this guy, so much more experience, has been in 12-round fights. This guy hasn't been in a 10-round fight before. He's only been in 8. So I think the experience gap, everything, I think the only thing that makes this fight interesting is probably the dimensions. But once again, because this is boxing, I want to wait till fight time, until the weigh-ins, to decipher what the size difference is going to be between them. But if they're roughly the same size, Madrimov via knockout is not an impossible feat here. So give me Madrimov. I'll say by decision, but if the knockout looks nice and juicy, I will be taking a stab at it.
Next fight on the card, we have Big Stepper Calico going one-on-one with Hard Work Jesse Hart. Those are 2 hard-ass names and
Great.
2 hard-ass nicknames.
Great nicknames.
Bars.
I would be the excellence of execution if I was Jesse Hart. But, just want to throw that out there. Shout out to the wrestling homies,
That might be a little too obvious, you know what I'm saying? We got Calico here. 10-1-1 overall. Find out of Jersey City, New Jersey, 29 years old. We got Jesse Hart, on the other hand, 31-3 overall. Find out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 36 years old.
Yeah, for me, just to jump right into it, I think this is Calico's fight to lose. He is slightly smaller than Jesse Hart. I would say slightly less experienced, but I think Calico has the goods. He also shows that he has the championship pedigree, as he avenged his only loss to Manuel Gallegos, who I think stylistically was a tough matchup for him because he was a guy moving down in weight. Got TKO'd, got hurt early in the first fight, never really recovered, came back the second fight and got a corner stoppage in the 6th round. Jesse Hart has fought some formidable competition, to his credit. Lost to Joe Smith Jr. via split decision. I thought Joe Smith edged him, low-key. Lost to Gilberto Ramirez twice via decision. And he got dropped in one of the fights that I was watching. Can't remember which one, but got dropped decisively. He is a guy that I think he has good boxing acumen and good boxing IQ. The problem is, defensively, when he's on his back foot, makes a lot of irresponsible decisions. This is a guy in Calico I think has the faster hands, has the cleaner punching ability. Jesse Hart does have length and size, knows how to work behind the jab, knows how to throw the uppercut at the proper times. But this is a guy in Calico I think off of that last loss, learned a lot, made the proper adjustments, knows how to cut angles. I think he has the better feet in this fight. I think he's going to be pressing the action. I think he's going to win the minutes in this fight. He's going to throw more volume. I'm not going to confirm or deny that he's going to knock him out in this fight, even though he has the power to, because Jesse Hart has never been stopped. But I'm going to say that Calico should get this done in the second half of the fight via knockout or decision. I think that's how this fight's going to look. I will give Jesse Hart enough credit to last that long, but once again, he makes a lot of defensive decisions that are bad. And I will say the knockout is live, preferably because Zordo is a volume puncher, not a power puncher, and was able to drop him with one shot cleanly in the first or second fight that they had. So Calico touches you like that, he might put your shit out. And by the way, I'm saying Calico, it could be Khalil Cole, so I apologize.
Calico sounds better.
Give me Khalil Cole to win this fight via, just win this fight. I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to get to it close to the fight time, but what I will say is Jesse Hart at plus 430 is an absurd line. I think that's a little crazy, considering he's going to have the height edge. He knows how to work behind the jab, and he knows how to put his punches together, and he does have the better world championship experience, even though he is 7 years the elder of Cole. I'm not saying I'm going to get there with a dog shot, but don't be surprised if I do, if this line gets a little more absurd. But I do think Cole is the goods. I think he's the sharper puncher. I think Jesse has a shot in this fight. Just not sure if I'm going to get there with the dog play, but don't be surprised if I do come fight night. Calico's the lean. Give me Jesse Hart as a possible dog play come fight night.
Next fight on the card, and is currently constituted the main event of the evening for the IBF World Lightweight title. We have Raymond Murtala going one-on-one with Andy Cruz. Murtala is perfect. 23-0. The champion fighting out of Fontana, California, 29 years old. Cruz, perfect. 6-0. The challengers fighting out of Miami, Florida, but repping Cuba, 30 years old.
Yeah, this is a fight where I think the line is a little imbalanced just because Andy Cruz hasn't been tested at the professional level that way that Murtala has been tested. Murtala also has the power edge in this fight, even though Andy Cruz has the extensive Olympic background and I think is the better technical boxer with the lighter feet here. I'm going to roll with Andy Cruz here. I'm going to say by decision because Raymond hasn't really been too badly wobbled in any of his contests. But don't be surprised if I come fight night with Raymond Murtala if this line gets a little too much more out of control. He's sitting at plus 200. This might be a too much too soon fight considering I've seen Vasily Lomachenko, who had a distinct advantage in his first world championship fight over his opponent and fumbled the bag, particularly because that guy just had more professional experience relative to his amateur experience. So I think this fight's closer to a pick'em. But I understand the line because I think Andy Cruz is special. I have questions about his ability to take a shot from a big puncher or a decently sized puncher like Raymond, considering I see Mashiro put hands on Andy the last fight and not wobble him, but you've seen Andy buckle a tiny bit and then have to respect the power. But I'm going to trust Andy Cruz's boxing savvy to get this done. I think he point fights him to a decision here. We'll see how we play close to the fight time. But I think Andy Cruz is the goods. I think he comes out of that extensive Cuban boxing system, and I think he is going to be very hard to catch for Raymond, who is a more flat-footed fighter here. Give me Andy Cruz via decision. Great fight, by the way. Love this fight. Follow us on all social media platforms as usual for them final plays. You already know.
And that does it for our combat coverage. That does it for episode 129. It is in the books. Damn, it feels good to be back. But it's the end of the episode, so like always, my brother, you know what to do. Take us home.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visual portion of this podcast, like always, hit up the YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date. And of course, coming soon, coming at you live very soon. Hit up the Twitch, hit up the Kick. We'll be in a screen near you.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio, you already know. Love you guys. Holla at you guys. See you next week for episode 130. You know, I don't want to say milestone episode, but you know.
It feels like one.
It feels like one. And just so you guys know, just to elaborate further on my brother, you know, this camera's looking at me. Yes, pay attention and pay attention closely. We will be doing post-fights coming soon, as my brother mentioned, on Kick and YouTube and a couple of other platforms. Stay tuned. I'm going to put this out just as a feeder so people know to tune in. Please come show your love and support. It's going to be huge for us. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking because obviously a lot of the episodes we've done so far are pre-recorded, but we should have some fun. Please feel free to drop some comments in the live stream. You already know what it is. We're going to answer clearly, make it fun for us. We expect a decent-sized attendance, not a large one. This is a niche sport. These are niche sports, rather. This is not like covering a movie or film, wink, wink, like our other platform. But you already know what it is. Come show some love. It costs nothing to show love. We ain't charging you nothing for any of the plays we give. We ain't charging you nothing for any of the viewership that you're going to give us on these platforms. Love you guys. Holla at you guys. See you next week for episode 130. Peace, holla, love. Happy New Year. Let's get this new year going right. Later. Peace.